welcome to the Perfect Podcast Show on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. I'm Keith, and I have a hangover like I've never had a hangover before. The thing is, like, I stopped drinking for 8 years, but, you know, I heard of this thing. It's not new, but I heard of it and wanted to give it a try to see what it was all about. Absinthe. Have you heard of absinthe? Yeah, it's it's got this thing in it, wormwood, and they're like, oh, it's illegal. Wormwood's illegal because it's psychedelic, and it's really not, though. It's just it's like an herb, it's a wood, it doesn't do anything. But people are like, when you drink it, you meet the green fairy. And I was like, what does that even mean? From just like an alcoholic drink? And it's like sort of green, and anyways. So had an absinthe, didn't meet the green fairy. So I was like, I guess I got to keep having more of these drinks that taste like black licorice. Licorice. Anyways, so I had one, nothing happened. Had another one, nothing happened. Had a third one, and from across the room, I saw the green fairy from across the room. And I was like, oh, can we meet? Do we meet? Didn't meet. Had a fourth one. The green fairy noticed me, and I noticed the green fairy started walking towards me. Had another one. The green fairy was right in front of me and shook my hand. I finally met the green fairy on 5. But why stop there? I had 6, and me and the green fairy danced all night. And now my head feels like it's going to either explode or implode. It's like a outward and inward. Oh, that was loud. So here I am doing the show, Perfect Podcast, where I'm trying to make the best podcast ever with a hangover. And I should have known this would happen because about 2 years ago, I had a kombucha that I drank too fast and I got buzzed because there's this tiny bit of alcohol in kombucha. And that got me buzzed. So I should have known, having 6 glasses of absinthe. Really, I should be absent right now. I should be absent because this is rough. But I'm doing the things. I got a cup here, mug. It's invisible. I feel like I'm invisible. Of water, stay hydrated. They say hair of the dog. I don't know about that. I don't know if I can take another thing of alcohol. But anyways, we're doing the show, and we got a good one today. I'm excited about the guest. Lots to talk about with this guest. Hangover sounds cool too. It's like you're hanging on. Hangover. And the thing is, it's not over. It's not over. It should be a hang start because it just started. Anyways, this is the Perfect Podcast Show, and we have a phone number set up. Don't call it now. Please don't call it right this moment because I do not want to hear a sound of a phone ringing. I don't want to hear that right now. It's bad enough they're doing construction outside of the studio, and that's kind of loud. But you can call another time when I'm not having headphones on where I would hear the phone ring because it's connected to my headphones. 818-392-4623. You can call and leave a message, and lots of people are calling and leaving messages. I'm not going to listen now because my head really hurts. Really, really hurts. My stomach isn't any better. You know, a hangover, it's like the head, the stomach, I want this hang to be over. All right. So anyways, we got some calls that came in. Let's listen to a call now, and I'm going to run to the bathroom and do some stuff while this call is being played. Let's listen to that call. Someone called the phone. Hi there. Thanks for calling the Perfect Podcast Show. Leave your message and we'll play it on the air. How was that? Does that work?
Yo, it's Sly Stallone. I played Rocky and also Rambo and also that shark in that one movie. Anyway, so yeah, the Perfect Podcast Show. It's a real winner. Like me, Sly Stallone, Rocky, and also Rambo and a shark. Bye-bye, sweetie.
Whoa. Thank you, Stallone. Thanks for calling the Perfect Podcast Show and leaving that message there. I feel like I was hit in the head by Rocky. That's how my head feels. And also my stomach feels like I was like, hit in the stomach by Rambo. And then I also feel like a shark. I don't know why, because my teeth hurt. Do sharks' teeth hurt? I don't know. I know they change teeth a lot, so I bet it hurts to change teeth. Are sharks always in teeth pain? I should have asked Stallone. I'll call him back and ask him that. Also, he called me sweetie at the end. It's between us. It's our own little thing. Anyways, thanks. Yeah, so you can call too and leave a message, 818-392-4623. Again, don't call right now because my head is... more water will help maybe. Stay hydrated when all I want is to, dig myself in a hole in sand and disappear. It's got to be a better way to get over hangovers. Pedialyte, would that help? Saying Pedialyte, I think I was going to just throw up just thinking about, oh, that's gross. Okay. Anyways, the show, we're doing the show now. We're live. If we weren't live, then maybe I wouldn't feel this way, but we're here and the show must go on. The Perfect Podcast Show as well must go on. Why are you doing construction right now? Please. I don't know if you can hear it in the studio, but it is so loud in here, even with these headphones, which are supposed to be noise canceling, but there's no noise being canceled. How do you don't cancel noise? Anyways, we got a guest coming up. I can't wait to talk to. Maybe he has some helpful tips. But before that, podcasts have to pay the bills. You gotta pay the bills. Or there's, I don't know, some rhyme. I couldn't think of it because, again, that absinthe got me. But we're going to play an ad now. And then we're going to get to the guest. Do that. I'm going to run to the bathroom again.
Hey, my name is Wallacey, and I have a podcast that I would like people to listen to. It's a podcast called The Shy Introvert, hosted by me, Wallacey, and I am a shy introvert. And my podcast I record once a year, and there are no guests because I don't like talking to people. So there's no one on the podcast, and the podcast is just me. Not talking because I don't like talking. Right now we have 962 episodes, almost to my 1000th episode, and every episode is just me not talking and just being very quiet because I don't like talking. So every episode is completely silent, but please pull it up on your phone or wherever you like to listen to podcasts, and you can listen to the sweet sounds of the shy introvert with me, Wallacey, and listen as I make no sounds. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Wow. That's a podcast that I can use right now. Just, because silence. That's great. Also, Wallacey said that he does one episode a year, but he's almost on episode 1000. I think there's some confusion there, unless he's a vampire and is almost 1,000 years old, which he could be. Who knows? Maybe being a shy introvert will keep you living. Please, do we need to do the hammering right now? Please, do we just do the hammering another time? Please. Okay, and it got louder. Great. Well, thanks for that ad, Wallacey. But now, on to the guest for this episode. Very excited for this. He is the CEO and co-founder of Synergy Solutions International. He spent 15 years in the Navy. I can't even imagine doing that for one day, but 15 years in the Navy. He's got a lot of cool stuff to talk about. Please welcome Jason R. Thomas to the show. Don't clap, please. Don't be loud and clap. Thank you. Jason! Oh man. It's been quite a morning. How are you? Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
I'm doing well, and Yeah, I can see doing slightly better than you at the moment. I have been there, done that.
Yeah, with
Oh
well,
yes,
have you had?
deployment. Oh,
Yeah, you've
for sh-
done. Have you had the absinthe? Have you done the absinthe and met the green fairy? Because she's not
I
friendly.
have not met the Green Fairy, which is probably good because I've managed to end up in that condition without the Green Fairy.
Oh, yeah, she's not.
Many a time.
She's what was your poison when you were like this?
Yes. You can never go wrong with gin and tonic. Like
Oh,
that
yeah.
just will just keep me rolling. Actually, so when I when I did deploy in 2011 on the George H.W. Bush's main deployment, they were showing off. It was the the new ship. So we had a bunch of port calls coming in, and when we went to England at the time, I was on this kick of like layered drinks, right? You know, the black and tans and things like that.
Oh.
Definitely don't do that in England. Number one, poor bartender trying to figure it out while I was not in a good place to try to be giving instructions. Didn't work very well. Then we
Wow.
would have, yeah. So
So
lots.
much to unpack there. So you were on the George W. But I don't know enough about the Navy. My grandfather was in the Navy, but I never got to meet him, so I never got to hear any stories. So you were on. Well, I mean, let's go back. So wait,
Yep.
it says here, shoo shoo shoo, go back before I drank anything is where I want to go back to. But it says you were a Navy nuke.
Yes.
Does that mean you use the Navy like military microwave and you nuke things, or did you? I don't even. What is that? That sounds amazing.
I did have a sailor who tried to microwave an entire raw chicken. It did not work. He was a very special character.
How far did he get into that raw chicken?
Not enough that it was acceptable for the potluck
Oh
that we were
no.
having.
Oh
So,
no.
oh my god, I love Kemma. He was one of those who tried so hard, more than anyone else. They should never let him through nuke school, probably, because he would have had a better time not being a nuke, along with every nuke.
But it doesn't sound like
the
he
guy
tried
worked so
hard, though. He tried hard, but he put a chicken in the microwave. That sounds like the laziest possible way to cook a chicken.
Well, when you're in switch, well, this wasn't in switch gear. This was in 30, and you have little like, offices, but really they're just like the rooms that pipes are in. Okay, that's where your office is. So it was either that or trying to use the bearing oven, which might have been more effective actually. But we called him Kima for about a year and a half until one time randomly in training when like some high up officer was giving training, he like stopped and was like, actually it's Kema. And like the room just erupted because we're like, what? Wow. We've been doing this for a year and a half, man. He's like, well, I didn't want to say anything. It's your name.
Right.
Like, it's your name. You're allowed to correct on that.
Yeah, I waited that long before he said that. Wow. So when did you join in the Navy, and what made you join in?
So my grandfather also was in the Navy. He served at the end of Korea on the Essex. I was actually going to go be a Marine pilot because I love Top Gun and Ghostbusters weren't hiring. So it was going to be Marine pilot. My dad was a Marine. And there's a whole long story about how I, got a full ride scholarship to Ohio State. I went there for like 2 weeks. I had played baseball, football before, no injuries. And then in the flag football league, I rupture my hamstring and tear a blood vessel. And I'm like on crutches for 2 years. So I have to leave that. And if I was ever going to enlist, I knew it wasn't going to be in the Marines. Like I said, my dad's a Marine. Might have a mentor who's a Marine, but no way that's where I'm enlisting because outside of killing people, there's not necessarily a lot of skill sets that transfer if you're ever gonna get out. So
That's true. I had a couple friends who were in the Marines, and then they became bouncers, and they were good at that job, but there wasn't other skills outside of being really good at beating people up.
Yeah, I say this, but my professional mentor did 20 years in the Marines, and he's like a Fortune 50 consultant and 9-figure earner. But I would not say that's standard for Marines. Okay.
No, there's mental fortitude there, but it's still, it's depending how you use it.
Yes. So I went back in 2008, joined, went to the nuke program, which is like the highest academic program, and the recruiters tell you, all recruiters lie in every branch. If you didn't know that, now you do.
What did they tell you, and what was the lie?
Well, they told me that the school was going to be the hardest part.
Oh,
The school was the best part, for the most part. So I was married just before I went in, so I didn't have to live in the barracks. So I had base housing, which also meant that because I came in a couple of years later after I got better, I always had DDs, and everybody was at my house versus the barracks.
so is that
shenanigans?
Is that a little tip there? If you get married before you go in, you get a house.
It is.
Oh,
Everything. Look, my wife and I are still together. We're going on it's going to be 17 years this year.
Oh, nice.
Everything my wife and I did, I would sit my sailors down and say, "Don't do this." Every step along the way was stupid.
That's how I feel about last night. Don't do this.
Yeah.
Don't take another absinthe. Don't try to meet the green fairy. It's stupid. You dance with the green fairy is not worth it. So I agree.
Oh,
You got to change what you do. So it was stupid to do that, but you got a house where that's where the party was happening. You're saying?
Oh yeah, and thankfully we had like good base house. Like the base housing itself was terrible, but the base housing police, they were pretty cool because they would just drive by and we'd be like outside in the carport being ridiculous, and like every once in a while they'd be like, just a little bit.
Oh,
and then they just keep driving. So very fortunate.
You were living Animal House, it sounded like. You were there having parties all the time. Up on
pretty much.
So then
it was a lot of fun down in Charleston. Sorry.
In the nukes, like what did you do with nukes then? That's
so like reactor plants. Like, so not like missiles or anything, right? We ran the reactor plants I was on carriers. I had some buddies who went submarines. They just try to kill themselves a lot.
The people or the plants?
The submarine in general.
The submarine
try to sink themselves. Yes.
Wow. Why would a submarine try to sink itself?
Okay. I'm going to give this for context. Submarines don't have doctors. They have one corpsman. And when they were no longer smoke on the submarines, the smoking cessation that my buddy got on his submarine was that they basically just handed out logs of dip. And that was the smoking cessation program provided by medical. So you can use that as a context. Actually, my friend was really fortunate because they were out playing around in the Atlantic like we like to do, and literally got ran over by one of our other ships. Like, this wasn't classified, it wasn't hidden. Like, the stuff has slowly come off of YouTube, right? Because there was you used to have a video, because basically like they had a helicopter once they eventually came up, because they were down underwater for like 3 hours or something before they came up. So there was like a half-life phone tree going that we just sank a submarine, because the submarines always kill the carriers in practice, which is really makes me feel good as being on carriers. But so they killed us in the well, it wasn't my carrier out. They killed the carrier out in the exercise, and like I guess they looked with the periscope. They checked like 1, 2, 3, and it was clear. And they came up, and it was like 1, 2, and they like try to dive back down, and they like get like the sail ripped off, and like dented the sonar dome with a frigate that hit them. And I was on duty on my first ship when this happened. And at one point or another, after I left base housing, we have a third, because there's actually 3 nuke schools. We got a house with me and a couple of the older buddies. He was one of them. And he just called my wife and was like, "You're going to see some stuff. All I can say is I'm okay." And that's it. And then we didn't hear from him for like 6 months.
Whoa.
They had like the whole crew sequestered down in Alabama, because that was like the closest place they could get it. To do enough checks for them to tow it up to Norfolk to fix it up and then send it back out. So
wow, there's so much information in your head that I don't know many of the things or the words you said. Like, it's such a different world to go and like play around. To me, like, play around, all right, I'll have absinthe and try this out and dance to music. But your play around is like we're driving around the Atlantic. So you said that the periscope checks 1, 2, 3. Do they not check 4 behind them? Like,
I guess.
What if you sneak up behind someone?
This is, I think, their problem.
We shouldn't be saying this. This is like military weaknesses. That's happening right there. If you sneak up behind, they're not going to see you because you're checking 1, 2, 3 only.
No, fortunately, our submarines are fairly untouchable.
Oh, that's
completely.
That's
actually,
pretty great.
Really.
So you said you're on an aircraft.
Unless we run them over. Yes.
Yeah, don't run them over.
Don't run them over ourselves.
So I've always wondered this. Aircraft carriers are controlled by the Navy, right? Or run by the Navy.
Yeah.
But then the Air Force lands on them?
No. They're all Navy ships or aircraft.
So
the Navy actually has more airplanes than the Air Force does.
What is the Air Force? What are they doing then? If the Air Force planes
have awesome golf courses and pretty medical buildings. So my wife was in the Air National Guard. Actually, when I was down in training, so there's a while that she outranked me, which was kind of funny.
That's an interesting story right there.
But yeah, every time we go for their medical and you get onto the base and it's all gorgeous and pretty and golf courses, and your ship is not that when you go into medical, right? You got steam pipes and everything going around. It's like, when you don't have to actually like pay for nuclear reactors and $13 billion aircraft carriers, you can afford to have a nice golf course. So
wow. So the Air Force aren't even the ones doing the planes, but the Navy's flying those planes that are landing on those ships.
100%.
Wow.
Marines sometimes, but most of the time it's all Navy pilots. So.
Wow, that's amazing. Have you ever been in one of those fast jets?
So not a fast jet. I was very fortunate because this doesn't happen very often. I actually got to leave near the end of deployment. I actually got carted off. So shot off the aircraft carrier to come home for the birth of my triplets.
In a cannon? Like you shot off?
It's called a COD, a carrier onboard delivery. Basically, it's like the male plane. And
instead of a female plane. I get it. All right.
Yeah, exactly. It is unique because one, you're seated, like you're facing backwards.
Oh no.
Towards the end. And you gotta cross your hands and go down. And the catapult launch is longer than you think. And then you do this cool little dip down.
Oh, right? I shouldn't have asked about this story. Oh boy. Keep going. Yeah. This is so fascinating.
Because you only have so much room from the water, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so you dip down and you're like, okay, we didn't. Then you come back up and you're like, yay, we didn't hit the water.
Oh.
And it's the worst flight ever because
Mm.
it's like not like compressed, it's cold. You got
Oh.
these big headsets on and like chairs from 80 years ago.
Oh.
Uh, yeah,
Wow. I
that
mean,
was
that's because you said you saw, Ghostbusters and Top Gun. So it's great you got to like sort of get the Top Gun experience in one of those jets, but that
yeah.
sounds like I get sick on a plane when it's like put your seatbelt on, there's a little turbulence, and you're talking about oh, oh man. So I gotta ask about your shirt too. It's gets
Yeah.
better
Yeah.
after worse.
It ORIS, so Operational Reactor Safeguard Exam. So every year, we have basically we recertify that we as a crew can run the reactors, and basically in between we just train forever. We're undermanned. New schedules are really, really bad. So it's the running joke that don't worry, it'll get better after ORIS. It does not.
It does not get better.
No.
Well, that's like
But-
some of these stories, and I always wonder, like, you're trained from what I know, in the branches of the military, and you're trained to go in there, and you go in and you're in these conditions. You're not at a nice golf course. You're not at these nice buildings. Your office is in basically a boiler room. And then when you're done, it's like go on about your day. And like, how do people deal with that? Like the mental like effects that must have when you leave.
So like out of the service altogether?
Altogether, that must be like the things you see, the situations you're in, the living conditions, the stress. Like that must be a lot mentally.
It is a lot, surprisingly, because we would joke in switchgear that we needed to go get hired at McDonald's or something a couple times so we could get fired from jobs of not importance as we acclimate to what's appropriate in civilian life.
Yeah.
Come to find out, actually, we're not that bad, or that we can contain it pretty well compared to some others in the outside. But so I did 10 years active. I left. I did 5 years of reserves. I was recalled back to active duty in 2020 during COVID to go out to Seattle to help the shipyard, which was a big bummer. Because one, I was supposed to be getting out in like 2 weeks, and I just stumbled across oh, hey, there's orders. I'm supposed to be in Seattle in like 2 days.
Oh, wow.
And
at a time when you just want to be with your family as well, because it's all
right. It was. I was in Surge Main, which how they're changing it now is I think is for the better. But basically, we supported the shipyards. They had never deployed before, and that's how I justified to my wife to stay in the reserves, thinking that I would still be given some service, keep the TRICARE, try to stick out to the 20. But once COVID hit, and then they got all this extra money, all of a sudden, we got great ideas on where we can send people.
Oh, wow.
And you knew how important it was. Like some places did have work, and I don't want to pretend that there weren't shipyards that needed it. Our shipyard did not, from an electrical standpoint, because I was an electrician. And when the reserves found out that they were going to have to pay for this themselves and not out of special COVID funding, we demobilized like that. It was go break your leases and just go home, and you'll virtually demobilize from there. Like It was that quick.
Wow. There's so much we could talk about. We didn't even get into any of your work stuff. But we're out of time, and it's great. Like you have so much stories and talking about like demobilized.
We didn't get into any deployment.
Nothing,
stories.
anything.
We're gonna have to do some
talking
more
about your startups, and it's like there's so much to learn. And like the one thing I learned in just our short conversation was that.
So this is where I steal just a small moment of time. I always sneak in mental health. Remember, you're not alone. If you're active duty, goroger.org. It is a nonprofit that is not connected to the DoD or the VA, 100% confidential. So if you're in a field where you've got a security clearance and you feel like you can't go for help, go for help. I'm exceptionally thankful that anonymously somebody went through the program and asked to let me know that they completed it. So at least my blabbering has got to somebody. So there's never a time I don't sneak that in there. But